guys, welcome back! Welcome back! It's episode 3 of season 2. It's the New 80's Revolution. We're down here in the Nerd Cave and we are talking about our memories of 1980s music. And you know that we are both material girls.
Oh yeah.
Living
for sure.
in a material world.
Definitely.
So what are we going to talk about tonight?
Music.
I know, but what about it?
We're going to talk about our top 5 favorite bands from the 1980s.
We're bringing back the top 5 list?
Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to talk about sort of what that music meant to us growing up in the 80s and what it means to us now, if at all.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
What else are we going to talk about?
Well, we're bringing back a very special segment on the show that we haven't seen for quite a while.
I think you always say that every time we do it.
We are bringing back, once again, Like I Totally Remember This, Do You?
It's just a part of the show, folks.
And another thing that we're going to debut for these folks tonight, a little thing we like to call Spotlight.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mentioned this before. We're just going to do a little spotlight. It's just going to be a separate little contained video of a particular item from the 1980s that I certainly had or enjoyed, or something that I liked, or something that he might like, whatever it is. And maybe you guys will, you know, you might not even know that it existed. You might have had a love affair with it. You might,
Ooh, an affair.
Who knows? But
Sultry.
I think certain things deserve a spotlight outside
Yes.
of the main show.
Yes.
And this is one of those.
And as always, we've got some pickups to show off. You may or may not have gotten a special gift in the mail.
I did. I totally did. I may.
You totally may. We'll be taking a look at that tonight. I've got a couple of small pickups to show you tonight. And for the first time ever, right here on the New 80's Revolution, we have a guest.
Yeah, we've never had a guest before.
So
in the history
tonight
of the New 80's Revolution,
we are going to debut
a
guest here on the couch. A guest who knows more about music than me,
than you.
And that's why she's going to be sitting here. That's right, fellas. I said she. There's going to be a girl on the couch tonight. First time in a long time for me.
For you.
Yeah. Okay.
A girl on the couch.
A girl on the couch. So, we will do all that and more tonight on the New 80's Revolution. But first, take a look at these commercial breaks.
Yeah, do it. Look at it. Look at it, do it.
Kids, now you can watch and win with Channel 45 to win one of these action-packed toys and become a TV star. Here's how. Send your name, age, address, phone number, and a recent photo of yourself to WNRW, P.O. Box 4545, Greensboro 27404. Starting Monday, February 2nd, 3 times a day between 4 and 6 p.m., we'll show off your picture. You'll have 45 minutes to call in and win. We offer 3 prizes each weekday, and on Friday, one lucky winner receives a grand prize. Look for your picture to win from Channel 45.
Thundercats are coming.
Burger King! Thundercats, please!
Burger King announces Thundercats meal packs. There's 4 of them in all for you to collect and trade. Thundercats! And every week there's an amazing new Thundercats treasure with a flame broiled burger, golden fries, and an ice cold drink. It's a delicious adventure. Thundercats at Burger King! While supplies last.
Oh, every single time they do it to me. Welcome back, everybody, to the New 80's Revolution, Episode 3, Season 2. Tonight is all about the tunage of the 80s. But first, you might notice something different.
Hey, who's sitting on our couch?
You have met this lovely lady before on our live Q&A. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the big show, Carrie Elizabeth.
Well, thank you. It is awesome to be here. I'm still in awe of this room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Why are you here?
Well, I am here because I share a love of the 80s with you guys and with all of you. And in particular, I have a fondness for 80s music. Man, there's certain songs to this day that I still hear, and it brings me back to my childhood, my innocence. So,
Speaking of childhood innocence, why don't you flash those tiffs, girl?
I'll flash my tiffs.
Flash the tiffs! Woo!
Yes.
Woo, put those things away! What are we doing? This is a family show, and YouTube is cracking down on savages like us.
They're cracking down on Tiffany.
What is wrong with this? You bring this girl on the show right away, she flashes her tiffs.
I know.
Yeah, I just couldn't keep the tiffs from
Well,
you
that
guys.
dirty?
So
Tiffs need to breathe.
Tiffs are out breathing.
Carrie Elizabeth
Yes.
got a great set of tiffs.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. She's
All right.
It's vintage. Vintage tiffs.
Vintage tiffs.
They're old
right.
school tiffs.
Let's talk about them tiffs, but let's talk about okay, so
Yeah. Hit her with the questions.
you love the 80s, and it became very apparent to me putting together the Saturday morning sleepovers that I do, folks,
What's that?
which you should all come to my house and check out. We can fit you.
Can't fit us on this couch.
I was gonna say, I'm like, there's a
Yeah, there's about a
There's enough.
15-person limit
Carrie's way down there.
in the basement.
I'm not this big.
For the Saturday morning sleepovers. But, so, our mutual friend, Nicole,
Nicole.
or Nichole, as I like to say,
Nicole.
Manchole.
They haven't met her yet.
No,
Yes, you have.
no, she's on the...
She had a little cameo on the sleepover.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she was too busy sleeping.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
So anyway, so Nicole would always come to these events that well, she'd show up for about 2 hours and then split. But she came to me in the heat of the night one night.
Heat of passion.
Frantic, sweating, flap sweat. And she says, "Crispin, my fellow warrior, there is another
Oh. A second.
80s fanatic out there who wants to join the fun." And she said, "'Twas Carrie."
Carrie Elizabeth.
I said, "Oh, you mean Carrie Elizabeth?" But Carrie, because I have known Carrie for a while because of the convention thing. And we would go to conventions, and again, through Nicole and everything. So I was like, well, does she want to do this? And Nicole's like, yes. Yeah, she's all about it.
Why wouldn't I want to do this?
And I'm like, she's into the 80s? And Nicole's like, yeah, she is. So, yeah, it became apparent very quick that Carrie was a fan of the 80s, and she grew up in the 80s. And since she started going to the Saturday morning sleepovers, she has been to every single one so far. Since she started,
from till the end.
Yeah, I get
Yeah,
there,
yes.
usually at the first or second one
Yeah.
there, and I am there
She doesn't leave.
for the long haul.
which is fantastic.
I don't even blink. Like, I don't even blink. I'm just like, this is incredible.
You're a true warrior.
And you got to have this relationship with Carrie over the years, but I've known
But
her.
we didn't. But what's interesting is we never talked about the 80s stuff.
No.
We always talked about horror. It was
Yeah.
always like horror, or looking at the stuff that we would get at conventions or
Right.
whatnot, or
Surface stuff.
yeah,
Yes.
things like that.
I've got a more sad story. I wasted
You know Carrie?
I wasted
Yeah.
3 years
Yeah.
not talking to this girl. We used to work together about 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe
well
longer.
done.
8, 9, 10 years ago.
I don't know about that one.
Okay, 15 years ago. Yeah, we worked together for about 3 years. And she thought I was gross.
That is not true.
So we never
Jason.
talked. We never talked. And look at all this stuff that we
Never
could have talked about all
I think
those
we
years
talked
ago.
In passing. I
Yeah.
was like, who's
Hey,
that dude?
Yeah,
Hey.
that dude looks like he might like the 80s. But so, Carrie's here. Carrie's here. Carrie's part of the crew. Carrie's part of the new 80s Revolution crew. And you've got a plethora of knowledge when it comes to 80s music. But before we get into that, anybody that we bring on the couch, we like to ask them about why is this decade so important to you?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we were talking a little bit about it earlier, and obviously you guys were not here for that conversation.
They were.
They were here. They're
You were
always,
You
they're
were here in
always
spirit.
here. They're always
in
here.
80s spirit. You guys were here for that conversation. But just like many of you, the 80s was a simpler time for me. It was a time of fun and freedom, which is something that has been referenced on this show multiple times. We, especially in the summertime, the doors were open. We were just let out to play and to imagine and to create and to have fun. And you know, there was a lot of great things in the 80s. I had great friends and great toys and, you know, some really great family memories. And, man, we had no cell phones. We had comic books and toys and sweet television shows.
And nature.
And bikes and skateboards and roller skates.
Bikes. In fact, I think bikes,
Pogo
skateboards,
balls.
and roller
Pogo
skates
balls.
are a future
Pogo
episode.
balls.
We did have a pogo ball.
Skippets.
Oh yeah, skippets.
Oh,
Those
wow.
things you would end up with some bloody ankles.
Skippets. I do have a pogo ball over there.
Yeah.
But it was, I have some very, very fond memories. And, you know, as I've gotten older, the nostalgia for me has gotten stronger.
Yeah.
You know, just a fond time.
Good stuff.
Do you think that part of it is because present day is so terrible? There's aspects of living in the world today that are just true bummers,
Deplorable.
just downers.
Yeah, and I mean, I think for me, some of that is just naturally, I'm an adult. So there's some responsibilities and some things I've been exposed to over the years that I wasn't, you know, exposed to as a youth in the 80s.
3 youths.
But, you know, I talked about cell phones a second ago, and that technology and that instantaneous, like, God, we had to do work for stuff, you know?
Directions.
Yeah, reading and...
If you didn't know somebody who knew how to get somewhere, you weren't going there.
No, and it was like in the hunt for things. You know, speaking of music, one of my 80s memories is there was this really big boy band in the 80s. Some of you may have heard of them.
A boy band in the 80s?
Journey?
I'm drawing a blank.
Menudo?
Of the name.
Menudo!
New Kids on the Block.
Oh, yeah, those guys.
yeah.
And if you were a fan of that...
NKOTB.
Right? If you were a fan of the New Kids back in the day...
Try to do this. How about that?
And you couldn't afford to see them, or they weren't coming to your city.
We do.
You couldn't go to YouTube. You couldn't Google. My dad bought a concert on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And I remember waiting and waiting and waiting for that day to come. And we watched it live and recorded it. And that was, like, so thrilling. And now it's like, oh, anything I think of, let me just go look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, but it's interesting,
like this.
though.
Which is great.
We love you.
Because in some ways, it's like, well, this is all great. This technology is great.
Right.
It's giving us a lot of things that, you know, are, I guess, easier. Because I guess as a species, we're a bunch of lazy fools. But I know for me personally, it's like I'm damning myself for doing it as I'm doing it. You know what I mean? I'm just like, man, like, we didn't have this and we were fine.
Yeah.
You know, and now sometimes people can freak out if their phone isn't near them for like an hour. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, where's my phone? What happened to my phone?
Right.
Oh my God, where's my... But growing up, into our teens even, we didn't have it.
No.
It wasn't there. We lived.
Right.
We flourished. We were fine.
And you know, the line has been blurred between us in the 80s and like pop culture and celebrities and musicians and professional wrestlers. Back then, those people were unobtainable to us. They were just, they lived inside of a box in our living room. You weren't gonna, you know, you were not gonna have they were not gonna be your Facebook friends. They stayed in this fantasy world, and nowadays we have access to anybody that we want.
Right.
And I'm,
Good,
you know,
be ugly.
it would be. I enjoy conventions, and I'm glad that they have them. But even that concept for me is like, you know, do I really want to go meet Willis? Don't I want to keep him in that little box?
I mean, sometimes, you know, the whole like, you don't want to meet your idols because
You'll get disappointed.
Disappoints.
Sometimes it's disappointing.
Except Andrea Zuckerman. She didn't disappoint.
Sometimes, I said. Sometimes they turn out fantastic.
Like Tiffany.
I know, and that's, man.
Well, hopefully Tiffany.
Man,
wouldn't that
can
be
I talk
heartbreaking?
about that a little bit? A little bit about Tiffany?
Yeah. This
Yeah,
is
I
your
mean,
forum, Carrie.
Well,
you know-
well, let's just jump right into it. Let's talk about music. What does music mean to you, Carrie?
Well, you talked about that whole, like, you know, them being unattainable,
Right.
and I still have this vivid memory of being, I don't know, 8, 9 years old, and I was obsessed with Tiffany. This is actually, like, no joke, this was my shirt in 1988. I actually brought a picture of me wearing this shirt in 1988.
That is awesome.
That's awesome.
But I had a poster
That
of
shirt
Tiffany.
is having a 30th anniversary
Yes,
this year.
yes. And we're going to
That's
talk
so
about
great.
that, but
Gotta
I'm
get a
going to...
cake.
We should get a Tiffany cake. I'm eventually, later this spring, I'm going to retire this shirt. My goal is to have Tiffany sign it, and then
yes.
I'm going to retire it
She
in
will.
a frame. But, you know, I have these memories of, you know, sitting on my bed and looking at this poster and just, like, I don't want to say fantasizing, because it wasn't, like, fantasies about Tiffany, but it was, you know, that whole idolization. And I, you know, her music just... Her music just touched me so.
Did she get you through a difficult time?
As a child in the 80s, you know, music in general, and I'll tell you where it started, guys.
Tell us.
Kids Incorporated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to mention kids, too.
If I could narrow it down to one thing in the 80s that piqued my interest in music, other than my parents, because my parents were into records and, you know, whatever. Records, guys, records. 8 tracks even. I remember seeing 8 tracks in my house.
For you hipsters, it's called vinyl.
But
that's how you'd say it.
And you identify them as pieces of vinyl.
Do you guys remember Kids Incorporated? Of
course.
It was a
I
show,
certainly do.
1984 to 1994.
Disney Channel.
Kind of went,
Yeah.
it got closer to the 90s.
Yeah,
and,
midway it was...
Everything
yeah,
garbage.
it was Saturday mornings, but each show featured several songs, and as, you know, a small child, hearing these songs and being able to connect them to, like, storylines, it created some, like, intense feelings. Like, there was one episode where Mickey from Kids Incorporated in the first season, he was leaving. He was moving away.
Thank Crom.
And no! I'm a big fan of Ryan Lambert, but, you know, Mickey... Jerry, I guess I wasn't that big of a fan if I can't remember his last name now. Jerry Sherrill, that's it.
Jerry O'Connell?
I hadn't experienced, you know, someone moving away, a friend leaving at that point. I was too little. But watching that episode and the songs that they sang, I felt this, like, loss. I could feel it. All of the emotions bubbled up, and I'm like, no, Mickey, no! No. But I just, man, I still hear some of those songs on the radio today, and I remember the episode of Kids Incorporated that it was.
Well, that's one of the most potent things about music.
Yeah.
Is you hear a song and it takes you to a memory like that. Be it from the 80s in your childhood, be it your teenage years, be it your adulthood, something that might have happened in your 20s, you know.
Be it memories that you want to recollect,
Right.
and ones you don't.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Like Mickey moving away.
Exactly. That was that's what they all can relate to. Christopher, why are we doing, why you, when we first started this show, this was one of the first topics that you came up with, we got to do an 80s music. Why so important to you?
Because music is important to me. Music makes me lose control. It's yeah, I mean, like, along with, again, I've said it before, like the pop culture sponge thing. I've soaked up so much growing up. I had family members who got me into so much stuff growing up, and a few of those family members were musicians as well. Ooh. And they were in bands, and I would see my family in bands and kicking it and rocking it and be exposed to so much different music, and then with MTV and all this stuff, and movies and the music, the way music and movies, it's not like it was. The 80s were a very special time where music and movies were a big part of each other, and that's gone now. But that affected me, and certainly being a movie fan and going into being a filmmaker, music inspired me. Music would send weird, crazy images and creations in my head and scenarios, and music would fuel that. Whole scenes would be materialized because of a song that I would be thinking of. So from then to now, it's just it was very important to me. You know, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, we've talked about it. A lot of us kids were raised on media. growing up. We were in front of the television, and that was a babysitter of sorts.
Healthier than today's babysitters.
Even if your parents may have been there,
not.
you were just there in front of the TV. At least I was. Yeah. I'm the stereotypical raised by television. And television had everything. It had the cartoons, it had the movies, it had the music, you know, it had the commercials. Yeah, we went outside and played and everything and brought the imagination outside. But all of that stuff just, you know, some people it just goes in one ear and out the other. But for me, it all just stayed. And it just became, music is a part of my life. It's just, it is what it is.
Well, on the contrary.
Then there's Jason.
Then there's me. Music is not.
There was music in wrestling.
I like wrestling theme songs. That's it. No, music. You know, music was always literally background music.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no passion for music. I just never. It never mattered that much to me. It was either whatever was on the radio. When MTV came along, which we might talk about in a little bit, it was whatever, you know. I was such a. I'm definitely not a B-side guy, and I think if you are, you know, a fan of music, then you appreciate deeper music.
Right.
I was, as a kid, a top 40 recognizable song person. So, you know, stuff that, you know, she-bop and
Right.
girls just want to have fun just because it was on the radio
same,
every other
yeah.
song.
I think that's the same with a lot of us, but we liked it so much that we wanted to get the album, you know, or get the cassette, or...
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had my share of cassettes, and but even today, I mean, today I have satellite radio, so I can listen to, you know, Howard Stern, because even today, music doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot to me.
Music doesn't make you lose control.
Music makes me gain control. I'm in control of music, like Janet Jackson.
See, you know.
Well, I know a few things, but so you know, I will definitely be contributing to this show, but I'm going to get out of the way because these two cats, you know, they love their music. But what are we tonight? So it's going to be, we're bringing back the top 5.
Yeah, we're
going to talk about,
after the commercial break, we're going to bring back that top 5.
We're going to talk about our top 5 favorite artists of the 80s. You know, Christopher is good for his honorable mentions, so
I got some.
I got a bunch
so
too.
settle in, because these guys are going to do like 45 minutes of honorable mentions.
It's so much.
I'll talk about a few of my lame memories and some songs that I enjoyed back then, but I enjoy them more today.
Right.
And they're a blast from the 80s, of course. And then you know, we'll do what we do right here on the New 80s Revolution. But again, before then, should we go see some commercials?
We have to.
I
We
would
have
like
to pay
see
those
some
bills.
You know what? It's
commercials.
tradition.
It is tradition
And
on the New 80s
since
Revolution.
YouTube's not paying our bills anymore.
No, YouTube isn't paying our bills anymore, and we might have something to say about that later on tonight. Yeah. But before then, check these out.
Check them.
And we'll be right back.
Here are a few words about Levi's jeans and cords.
Levi's.
Go, team, go! Kick the ball!
Okay.
Levi's!
Bill is a camping man. His camp arrives to a taste surprise. 2 scoops of plum juicy raisins in Kellogg's Raisin Bran. Pitching a tent is the plan. He's learning now that he's thinking how he loves 2 scoops and Golden Flakes of bran.
2 scoops! Let's go back again! Yeah!
You can't resist the taste he missed. Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
part of this complete breakfast.
Part of this nutritious breakfast.
Now you can get a Swiss Miss sugar-free chocolate milk maker sample free in specially marked boxes. Oh yeah, it's gonna be a Golden Grahams Day.
Memory. Am I right?
You could have kept going with it.
Those commercials were great.
I was ready for you to break it out. But yes, of course those commercials are breaking. Of course those commercials are great. Of course we are back here on the couch. I'm not on the couch. I'm on the floor.
You know what, folks? You know what the Patreon would help? It would help us get a new couch.
The Patreon account would help us get a new couch so I don't have to sit on the floor when we have a special guest.
Yeah. You know, we got to get one of those nice.
T-Public. We should probably... Yeah. Later on when I show off some pickups, I might show you off some merch.
I will sign up for a Patreon tonight, and I'm going to buy a shirt tonight.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. This is news. This is breaking news here on the New 80s Revolution.
Let's do this together, guys.
Wow.
That's right, and she's a part of the group.
Yeah.
Well, so is he. He had to buy his own shirt.
I had to buy my own shirt.
That's right.
So let's get back into this Muzak thing. We're going to do a little thing we used to call Top 5 list here coming up tonight on the New 80s Show. But I told you guys I'll go first.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be done. This is going to be like your professional wrestling show. You're done in 30 seconds and then you pass it on to me and it's never talked about again. So again, top 5 for me. You know, again, with me and music, it was whatever everybody else was listening to. I had no, maybe one on these lists is kind of odd for an 8, 9-year-old to like, but
hey man, believe me, you'll be surprised at some of the stuff.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what I liked was what everybody else liked. What I liked, what was on the radio, what was in movies, you know, what was popular. I didn't spend enough time looking deep into music to find something that was my own little niche. But I do have kind of a fond memory, and maybe you guys did this as well. I'm sure you did. I'm sure a lot of people did as well. I was a fan of the Sunday night. It was on Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning, and then it replayed Sunday night. It was called the Casey Kasem American Top 40.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Casey Kasem.
Well, of course you did. I would go to sleep to that. So it would, because it would come on at like 8:30. And then the top 40, it would be about a 2-hour or 2.5-hour show. And so we would be allowed to have our little radios on, and we'd be going to sleep to top 40. But I would have my blank tape ready in the cassette player, and I would spend half the night recording, the songs that I wanted to record. So that's kind of like one of my fonder music memories. I'm scraping the barrel on that one, but.
Well, you cared about it enough to want to listen to it at night and tape it. You know?
Didn't.
Okay.
And tape it. I mean, speaking of taping it, do you guys remember having to like record things off of the radio? Taking a tape recorder and putting it off the radio?
Hoping that you'd get it, or you most of the time you like miss the opening.
Of course. How would you know?
You can hear fumbling of the record, like the tape recorder.
You're yelling at your
dog barking.
Get off the
Carrie, what are you doing?
Get off the Davenport! Get off the Davenport! Slatherhead! Simpleton! Carrie Elizabeth, put the tape recorder away! Savvy! Top 5 for me. Here we go. Number 5. With this cat, this is a little bit later in the 80s, a little late 80s, going into the 90s, but still 80s. With this fella, you knew there was no humping around. I'm talking about my man B. Brown. Bobby Brown, my number 5 favorite 80s artist.
Bobby.
See me. Bobby Brown, huh?
Bobby Brown. Yeah. I dug Bobby. I didn't like New Edition at all.
I like New Edition.
Couldn't have cared less about New Edition. But once Bobby Brown went solo, and he shaved his hair.
It was his prerogative.
Yes, it was his prerogative to shave his hair in the shape of a triangle.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool, and so
I definitely dug my prerogative.
My
I dug my
prerogative.
prerogative in the Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah,
On Our Own.
Don't Be Cruel.
So
he had a song called "Rock With Ya," which was a soft love-making ballad for you 10-year-olds.
I was gonna say love making we were doing it.
Ain't nobody humping around.
Ain't nobody
School.
humping around, which he probably was humping around when he made that song.
Please, come on.
And my favorite,
Bobby B.
my favorite from Bobby B was "Tenderoni." That's right. Every song he made, he was guaranteed to break into a rap halfway through the song.
Sure.
It would just it would cut to rap, and he was, so. My prerogative, Bobby Brown, top 5. It's not your prerogative. It's mine. You want me to do the whole thing? Or you guys?
No.
Do we share?
Yeah.
That's right. We haven't done this in a while. I forgot how we do the top 5. Let's go to Christopher.
No. Let's
go to Carrie.
She is our guest. Let's go to Carrie's top 5. I mean, 5. Number
Top
5. Number 5.
It's
Number
yeah, number 5.
five.
Number 5. Number 5. It really should be 55. This was hard for me. There's a lot. There was a lot of bands and artists that I used to listen to, and I really kind of had to take a look at what I still actually listen to today.
Yes, that's what I did.
Yeah, if we were gonna go back to what I was listening to when I was a kid in the 80s, it was your Paula Abduls, your New Kids on the Block, like I said, Debbie Gibson, Tiffany, that type of stuff. However, as I matured in the later 80s and into the 90s, like Jason said, I developed a more expansive taste in music, and I found some more stuff. So
you found 85 different.
I found a million. Yeah,
look at that.
But my number 5. My number 5 is actually someone that I listened to a lot in the 80s, and who Martika. And Chris knows that I still listen to Martika because there's been several times where we have hung out and I'm like, yeah, I was listening to Martika on the way over here. Martika.
What is she doing?
Nothing now. I don't know. Martika. Martika.
Yeah.
Martika.
Come on.
This is a plea to Martika.
You gotta come over.
Martika is actually Christian Hafer.
If you are listening to this, we want to know what you're doing, and we still appreciate you. I do.
Please subscribe.
My prerogative.
Please subscribe,
You shouldn't have left Kids Incorporated, Martika.
You were, the Kids Incorporated is how I first heard of Martika, and then I realized that in 1988, she dropped her own album. Dropped her own cassette tape. And it was self-titled Martika. And that...
Why don't you lay that hit track down?
Lay that track.
Let them know.
Lay that track.
Oh, see,
you don't have to sing it.
I don't even... Toy
But what I'm saying,
Soldiers.
but what I'm saying is, people out there will probably know. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Toy Soldiers.
good
You
point.
know?
You know how
Good
they'll
point.
know it? They'll know it from a cat named Eminem. But go ahead and bust it.
It's the whole
Come on.
Go ahead.
step by
There it
step,
is.
heart to heart, left, right, left, we all fall down like toy soldiers.
Beautiful.
I'm no
Carrie
singer,
Elizabeth,
so
welcome to the big
there's gonna be
show.
all these comments. I can't sing. I'm no singer.
Our people know. Our people have.
They know you can't sing,
They
so
know
don't
you
worry
can't
about
sing.
it.
But our people never leave any negative comments. It's all love.
Nobody does.
It's all
You guys-
love. Nobody
you guys are all
leaves
about the
negative
love.
comments.
But that was my number 5, and that I still have intense memories to. I had my first love when that album came out, and I hear that nowadays, and I still think about Lance. His name was Lance.
You mentioned
I think to
Man.
take this show to a new level, I think each one of us should sing from our list.
Okay. I don't know.
Sorry.
You guys ready for this?
So we just hit Martika.
I can do that.
Okay.
I encourage you guys to. That was my number 5. I encourage you guys to listen to that.
Martika.
She's more than just toy soldiers. She's more than toy soldiers.
She'll be glad to hear you say that.
She's watching.
All right, so
Christopher.
my number 5. My number 5, kids, is a band. It's not even a band. I guess it would be a band now, but it was 2 dudes from Brooklyn, New York.
Oh.
They were very weird, very just weird dudes, and they make weird music, and the music doesn't make a lot of sense. Their lyrics, I'm sure it does to them, but as a listener, it never made a lot of sense. It still doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I loved it. I enjoy it, and it was one of, not the, but one of the first cassettes that I ever got. The first cassette I ever got was Michael Jackson.
Ah, yes.
I think this was probably my 6th, 7th cassette. And it was in 1986. And the band is called They Might Be Giants.
They might be giants. You never know.
I'm sure you have no idea who they
No
are.
clue.
Really?
No, I haven't heard. I've heard those words together before.
There's a lot of people who probably
What do they?
Surprise.
don't know.
Why don't you tell us what they sing?
I don't. You wouldn't know.
But they want to know.
Well, this was their self-titled cassette, and it had hits like hits. Don't Let's Start. Put your hand inside the puppet head.
How does that one go?
I can't. Oh my gosh. Put your hand inside the puppet head. Put your hand inside the puppet head. Put your hand inside. Put your hand inside. Put your hand inside the puppet head.
Do you like how he prefaces that with "I can't"? I can't.
But hold on.
I can't do this.
They were really. I mean, I think they're geniuses. There's just two dudes, both named John. Accordion, keyboards. A guitar, a drum machine. You know, they got a little more elaborate as the years went on, but this band it's actually a band that not many people know I love, because I never really play it around people, because I think they're just going to be like, what the hell is this? So I just don't play it. The only time I play it is really in the car. If I'm going on trips or if I'm just by myself, I crank They Might Be Giants. I've gotten almost every album throughout the years, and then I've compiled my own collection CDs, and on my, iPhone and all that stuff. It's a band that I still listen to today, but again, it's even my best friends, out of my best friends, and there's about 12 of them, I don't listen to They Might Be Giants around them. Because I think maybe one would be like, oh yeah, Might Be Giants, they're sweet. I think Alec out there, Alec is with me. He likes They Might Be Giants, but you have seen some of their magic, as it's, we can't play the music, but you can see what they look like.
No, we don't want to be demonetized anymore.
Oh,
That's
here's
right.
something. Here's how you might know They Might Be Giants in the modern era.
Yeah.
In the 90s, they did the theme song to a very popular Fox television show called Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah.
You're not the boss of me now. That song. That is They Might Be Giants.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I never liked that song, but there you go.
There you go.
That's
Number
my
5 for Christopher Seaver. They Might Be Giants.
They Might Be Giants.
My number 4.
4? Oh, look at this. It's so euphoric.
Four-ish.
4. It's Martika.
It's They Might Be Giants.
They might be Martika. They were good.
Martika Might Be Giants.
That's right. That was another good band.
You folks out there may recall that I was or am a huge fan of the television show called Dallas, which of course it's true. No, I didn't tell you about it, but it's filmed in a place called Texas, and so as I was watching this show, it's down by the water. So it's like, it's the, Dallas, cowboys and cowboy hats, and so I was like, I wanted to listen to some cowboy music, and my mother was a big fan of this guy. For some reason, he, when you look back on like 80s sex symbols in music.
Where are you going with
Well,
David Hasselhoff.
no, it's guys with feathery hair and beards and chest hair sticking out of their shirts. And so,
You're not talking about Michael McDonald?
well, I'm not. I am talking about the Gambler, Kenny Rogers. I am a big fan of Kenny Rogers, and I am a big fan today of Kenny Rogers. Lady, I'm your knight in shining armor, and I love you.
Actually,
You have come into my life and made me whole. Kenny Rogers, number 4 for
I
me.
knew somebody like that was going to show up on yours. And only because growing up with grandparents, you know, as your sole
that's
provider and
yeah.
razor.
Yeah. That was the kind of
They listened to that stuff. All my family members loved, like, you know, Johnny Cash and Ronnie Millsap and stuff like that. And Kenny was 100% on that list. It's actually on my honorable mentions.
It should be.
Kenny with Dolly.
Okay.
Because, again, my family growing up, that Islands in the Stream song that the Bee Gees wrote for Kenny and Dolly is still, like, in my brain all the time.
It's a fantastic
I think
song.
It's a great song.
It's a fantastic song.
The Bee Gees are...
Kenny Rogers has if you get your hands on a Kenny Rogers greatest hits, you've got, you know, the Gambler is classic.
You've got the Gambler.
No.
I was like trying to think. Racking my brain here.
You've got the Gambler.
Lady with the Gambler.
You've got Lady. You've got a song called Lucille, which
Gambling
is absolutely
ladies.
fantastic. There's a song that always brings tears to my eyes called Coward of the County, which is just like...
Boss Hogg.
It's not. Boss Hogg is in it. It's not. Doesn't talk about him. But Coward of the County is just a cool song about a kid who just finally stands up for himself. And you know, there's in country music back then, everybody's daddy was always dead. And you know, so anyway, Kenny Rogers. I'm a big fan today. He has come to this area in the past. He has played at a casino called Turning Stone, which is like an hour from us. I didn't go. I would love to see Kenny Rogers in concert one more time.
He's actually on his last tour.
This is exactly right, and that's why I'm worried.
He's 72 now. He's not looking that great, but
he's not looking great. He's had extensive plastic surgery. He looks plastic. He kind of looks like Joan Rivers.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I mean, like I've seen some recent footage of him on this new tour.
It's not good.
And somebody's holding him up as he's singing.
Yeah.
And his voice has really changed too. His voice is higher. But anyway, I would still love to see that. Kenny Rogers, go back and watch some old footage. He's cool. He was a sex symbol in 1982, boys and girls. Kenny Rogers.
That's great. So that's your number 4.
That's
so
my
let's
number
rock
4.
your number 4.
My number 4 is the Beastie Boys.
They're on my honorable mentions.
Yep. In particular, 1986's License to Ill. I mean, what else can I say about that? It's License to Ill. You know, a few of my favorite songs are Girls, which I bet you nowadays, if that was, people would have a lot to say about.
People have a lot to say about a lot of stuff today.
Right. Brass Monkey.
Brass Monkey.
That funky monkey. And my all-time favorite song off of License to Ill, Paul Revere.
Go ahead.
Which goes a little something like, here's a little story I got to tell about 3 bad brothers you know so well. It started way back in history with Ad Rock, MCA, and me, Mike D.
Unbelievable. Thank you very much. Proper.
That's my number 4, Beastie Boys.
Yeah, man. That's it? That's all you got to say about the Beastie Boys?
They're just the Beastie Boys. I mean, they were these white kids out of New York that just like rocked the world. Maybe not the world. I'm sure there were some people out there that didn't appreciate them.
They turned the world upside down, those beasties.
But man, they were silly. They were fun. They were relatable. You know, you got to fight for your right to party. I mean,
I'm glad you didn't mention that as one of your top songs, because that's like,
yeah,
you know, It defines them, but it's kind of
right. It's like that and like No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
Yeah,
Like, they're good, but like, they're not my faves.
Interesting.
Paul Revere.
My favorite Beastie Boys album is Paul's Boutique.
Okay, 1989.
Yeah,
right?
1989. That flipped my wig. Like that, when I heard that, I was like, and I like License to Ill, but man, Paul's Boutique took me to another dimension.
I loved their album I Got Boo.
Oh yeah, I Got Boo is a classic album. That's awesome.
Yeah, I still listen to them today.
Very good. Yeah.
They withstood the test of time. Yeah, yeah. And
which one's dead?
Mike
D?
No. It's
Sugar Ray?
MCA, right?
Because Ad Rock.
Yeah, Ad Rock is still alive.
Yeah.
It's MCA.
Man,
right?
I feel like I just lost some track.
Skippy G?
I remember when it happened.
Oh yeah, it sucked.
Cancer, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big ups.
But they went out as legends, folks. They are legends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everybody loves the Beastie Boys. Come on now.
Speaking of legends,
so what you want?
Who's your what you
Oh, that video! Can I just say the crush that I had on them?
Really?
Yeah,
I
they're
don't
like
see those guys being. I don't see those guys being.
I have
physically appealing.
To this day, I have a videotape in my home of me and my pals recreating that video over and over and over again, different times throughout the summer that album came out in 1992. That I should show you, but we are doing it.
Yes.
We got the knit caps on, and it's like the middle of summer. And we got the camera down, and we're just doing that.
It's just so good.
Didn't they do that on the
Ad
Goldbergs,
Rock.
and it was fantastic?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ad Rock was my favorite.
Christopher.
No, my number 4.
Number 4.
All right. Yeah, this is a band that I still listen to this day. This one I don't hide from anybody because there's a lot of people who love this band. But my 4th favorite band from the 80s that is still in my heart to this day, The Cars.
The Cars.
Yes. Benjamin Orr, Rick Ocasek. Just, this band, so many, talk about a band that when the song comes on, you just go right back to that time in the 80s. So many hits. I was lucky enough to see them when they reunited down in New York City. Casey and I went, and it was so surreal. It was so bizarre to see this band that you grew up loving so much to essentially sound exactly the same as they did.
Wow.
They were still so tight. They had just put out a new album, and they played like all their hits, and it sounded like you were listening to your cassette back then. It was just so crazy. But yeah, The Cars, man. My favorite Cars song is called Tonight She Comes.
How's that go, Chris?
I don't remember it. Can you hum a few bars?
I know tonight she comes.
You made that sound like a country song. Sure that wasn't Kenny?
No.
Lady.
Yeah, but yeah, of course, it's Magic. You love Magic. You love You Might Think.
Yes.
Let's go. I love the nightlife, baby.
Yep.
That's them. They have so many hits. Shake it up.
Yep.
Like all that stuff. It's just the Cars,
Kids
man.
Incorporated did a lot of their songs.
Oh, they did. They certainly did.
God, and I just go right back to that.
And Ryan did Tonight She Comes.
Yep.
But yeah, the Cars, man. To me, they are a timeless band. They didn't start in the 80s, but me and my relationship started. And they certainly took off in the 80s, so.
All right. Number 3.
Oh, fall asleep.
in the 90s, I transitioned into 90s hip-hop / rap. Absolutely head over heels in love with Dr. Dre, Snoop, Dizzle, and stuff like that. But before then, before Ice Cube, before NWA, there was Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh. And I'm going to need a little beat. Lottie-dottie, we likes to party. We don't cause trouble. We don't bother nobody. We're just some men that's on the mic. And when we rock up on the mic, we rock the mic right.
Yeah, Tiffany's head is bobbing here.
Oh,
Tiffany's.
man. She's rocking. She's fresh.
She is fresh, like Dougie Fresh.
She's dope and ill.
She is ill and dope. But yeah, number 3, Dougie Fresh, Slick Rick. Again, I had a... I don't think this was a thing that I started on my own. I think that there was one of my dad's girlfriends at the time, I don't know, had a kid who was a little bit older than me. And I went with him to my first concert, which was this rap collaboration at the War Memorial, and LL Cool J was there, and Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick and some other people of the time that I can't remember, but that's when I first really got into those guys. And even today, I mean, that their sound is timeless, and Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh together are fantastic. And Dougie Fresh, beatbox king. So yeah, that's my number 3.
I beg to differ. Big Tasty is pretty good.
Big Tasty.
Did you have your first concert experience in the 80s, Chris?
Mine was in the 80s.
What was it?
The Beach Boys.
Okay.
My uncle took a bunch of us. They were playing in a park in Olean, New York.
Oh my gosh, that's
and
random.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I saw the Beach Boys. I was like, okay.
Aruba,
right?
Jamaica.
It wasn't around that time. It was before.
Oh wow. Before they made their comeback.
So, it was
California girls.
I get around,
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Very cool.
All right, number 3, Carrie Elizabeth.
Number 3 for me would be, and again, this is, I did not start listening to these guys in the 80s. It wasn't until the early 90s that I discovered them. But they fall more into the 80s category because they had so many albums back then. Skinny Puppy. I know a lot of you out there probably wondering, Skinny Puppy?
But I only know Fat Puppy.
Dog?
I don't know about no
What
puppies.
is the Skinny Puppy? They are, and I guess you would categorize them as an industrial band, electronic music. It's weird, it's creepy, it's dark, it's just a lot of noises and sounds, and Ogre, the Ogre, the lead singer, Ogre, O-G-R-E.
Nerds.
He's got, I don't even think I can sing any of their songs where it's like, deep down, come on, nah, nah. It's like this weird...
Just think of pipes hitting each other and...
And they sampled a lot of stuff, which I thought was really cool, but they were very political. They have this one song that's all about
farting.
Yeah, it's about farting and
political.
Right. I mean, it's heavy. It's deep. But yeah, but about testing on animals. And there's a video that goes along with it. Whatever. They just their lyrics are deep, even though it sounds like a lot of just screaming and noise and whatever. But Skinny Puppy, I still listen to them today. They had about 4 or 5 albums in the 80s, so Skinny Puppy.
Skinny Puppy for the lady.
Skinny Puppy.
Yeah, I would think a lot of these bands, they started at different times,
Yeah.
And it's just we happened to be
Yeah.
right there when things were magical, I guess.
Yeah. Like the one 1986, they came out with Mind, the Perpetual Intercourse. I wasn't listening to that when I was 6, but
I remember that.
Cleanse, Fold, and Manipulate.
Yeah. Oh
Again,
yeah, that's when I first had sex.
Yeah.
When that song
That's what they were
came out,
talking about.
Yes. It was amazing.
So,
Christopher?
What is this? My trois?
Your 3.
Okay, so this is a tie. Because they're just, both of them are so good. They permeate my bumpy exoskeleton from then till now. I still listen to them. The Police and Weird Al Yankovic.
Okay.
Fantastic.
let's get something straight here with the Weird Al. I honestly, when he started, you know, as one would do, you have to sort of move on with the times. So he would, you know, parody stuff from the modern era. I'm not really into that stuff because I don't like the music.
Yeah.
So, you know, in the 90s, it was iffy for me to still enjoy Weird Al.
Right.
I mean, I could like the and I do actually his original stuff that is on every album. I do like a lot of his original music, but my Weird Al is 80s Weird Al, and I think the man is a genius. I think he's funny and just goofy and silly, and he I mean, it's perfectly fits in with my sensibilities.
Yeah.
Stuck in a closet with Vanna White.
Yeah, man. And I think my favorite Weird Al song is Dare to Be Stupid, which is his own original. But what he would do, which was cool, is that he had his parodies, but he also had original music that sounded like other bands.
Oh, yeah.
So his Dare to Be Stupid sounds like a Devo song, but it's original. So I love Weird Al. And then with the Police, again, to me, this is another timeless band. I will probably always listen to them. It was unfortunate that I did not get to see their reunion tour. But my friend Bobby saw them, I think, 3 times on the reunion tour. I was so jealous because they're never gonna do it again. But I loved the way the Police blended music, and what attracted me the most was their Jamaican blending, their reggae and ska stuff that they would put in with their punk and rock. And,
Lord of mercy.
So yeah, I mean, there are 2 bands that Weird Al and the Police I still listen to this day.
Yeah.
They are on many of my playlists. Most of these bands are actually on my playlist.
Right.
So, yeah,
I loved Weird Al too. I mean, that was another. Again, just because it was so silly and it, you know, we were as kids. If you're us kind of kids, you're into that, you know, farty humor, and that's. You know, that's the silliest guy that we could, you know, that was out there. So that was a ton of fun.
The Police, there's 2 favorite songs I have. One is called Man in a Suitcase, and then the other is Can't Stand Losing You. So there you go.
You got any?
stuff.
You got any music?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Can't stand losing you. I can't stand losing you.
Oh.
That was great.
Can't stand losing you. There you go.
Thought there was a 4th.
Yeah, yo.
Okay, there we go.
I was waiting. I knew
Yo. Bobby can do a really good sting.
that. Oh, right.
He does. He does a good sting.
I've had that in my head all night long.
We're up to our
Deuce?
top 2.
Deuce.
Oh my gosh, the
Top
deuce is
2.
loose.
Well, these 2 next for me are about as common, poppy, culturally, you know, huge of the 80s. I mean, these 2 names, for me, pretty much, you know, when you talk about popular music and mainstream music, these 2 people are, you know, neck and neck. So it should be no surprise that a non-music aficionado like myself. But my number 2 favorite, I mean, you know, she was kind of my first introduction to sort of like a, I don't know, it's like sort of a pop culture taboo back then. She was sexy and risque and you know, brought a lot of controversy with her for the time, and parents didn't want you listening to songs like a Virgin. But my second favorite 80s artist is Madonna. Madonna.
Honorable mention.
Honorable mention.
Madonna. Yeah, I mean, just because she, back in the 90s, I would buy, there was the used CD shops were all the rage. So, I got my hands on the Immaculate Collection.
Yes. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, I think all of us
which is a 2-disc set, and you listen from the first song to the last song, and they are all top, 5 or number 1 Madonna songs of all time.
La Isla Bonita. That really should have been in my top
that is
fives.
it
was too tough.
That is such a great song. Get Into the Groove.
Oh, Get Into the Groove.
So amazing.
I'm gonna redo this list.
What is? How about this one?
From your head down
ready?
to your toe.
It's my number 2. Slowly now we begin to move.
Yeah.
By two we our bodies become one. Cause I'm crazy.
Touch me once,
and you'll know it's true. Yeah.
Gosh.
I never wanted anything.
My favorite's Material Girls.
Oh,
Material Girl's fantastic. The video for Material Girl is
I
unbelievable.
love it. I just.
Do you guys want to hear a cute story?
Yes, please.
Want to hear a cute story about Material Girl?
Please.
And again, I just want to start this list over.
Shred it.
And
shred
put Madonna
Get Skinny
on there.
Puppy off here.
We're gonna mix it up, yeah, because really, I mean, Madonna fits right in there. Because now as I'm singing these songs, I'm like, I just love Madonna.
Yeah. La Isla Bonita is incredible.
I'm putting Madonna back in here. Sorry, I can do what I want. I can do what I want.
Prayer.
But cute memory. Material Girl came out when I was about 4 or 5-ish, maybe, and I didn't know what a Material Girl was. I just didn't know. I couldn't relate.
One.
I thought she was singing I'm a Cheerio Girl for years.
Well, Tori
until
Amos
I was
would,
like
have
7,
a
8 maybe. I would like, I'm a Cheerio girl in a material world. Like,
wow, that's the cutest thing.
I am a material girl.
That's the cutest thing I've ever heard in my life. Because you're probably 6 years old, running around the house with your Tiffany shirt on, singing Material Girl.
I'm a Cheerio girl. Because that's what I could relate to when I was 6.
Right.
Was Cheerios. I didn't know what the heck she was talking about.
It's my favorite Madonna song. And I have a lot of favorite Madonna songs, but that one...
Papa Don't Preach.
Oh, I'm in trouble deep.
I'm in trouble deep. I'm keeping my baby.
That song scared me as a kid. I was like, what? Is that going to happen to me?
And of course she was, right up there in my,
Papa Don't Screech.
No, it's Preach.
No, he hated Screech.
It was she of course was right up there in my, top 5, prepubescent fantasies.
Gosh, mine too.
Yeah.
I think
fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
She was a sex symbol. She was a sex symbol. And then my dreams of her came to a crashing halt. Why? You want to hear another cute story?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's going to be so cute.
No, my grandfather had a collection of magazines, which were of the adult nature, and I often would thumb through them, if you will. And one of the famous issues of one of these magazines, which I don't even know if we're allowed to even say anymore on this channel, but
you can. Who cares?
Madonna was featured in Playboy or Penthouse. I can't remember which one. Which was the more,
That was,
triple XE one. But the Madonna picture that I saw, she had a lot of hair under her armpits.
Okay.
And I said...
that just ruined it.
Oh my. And even as like a 10-year-old kid, I was like, well, that doesn't look right.
Do you see this face? I mean, this is my reaction. I didn't realize she had...
It's true. It's true.
Oh,
and I think that it was like, I think this might have been...
She's a woman?
Well, this might have been on purpose. I don't know. But anyway, she might have been making a stand in 1987, but who knows.
Well, Skinny Puppy's back in.
Skinny Puppy's back in. And for me as well.
She has hair under her arms.
She did.
Madonna's over.
She's done. So she, whatever. But that's,
I
yeah,
love
Madonna. Blom.
We love Madonna.
We could tell. You said Madonna, and all of a sudden we're all like,
Yeah. Blonde Ambition Tour was on HBO, one of the first concerts that I watched on HBO, which I wasn't allowed to watch.
The sex
the
book.
The Sex Book.
That right
was
there.
that
Truth
was
or
huge.
Dare.
Truth or Dare was, yeah,
was
Truth
huge.
or Dare.
Huge.
To be honest, I saw Truth or Dare for the first time like 3 years ago, and I was all ready to be like, oh, but it was kind of like, oh.
Yeah, but back then, man.
That was the
When
build-up?
you're-
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I saw it, and it was a revelation.
Well, yeah, because, yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was no Christy Canyon, but it was like,
Well,
oh,
yeah.
this is Madonna. This is risque.
Yeah, so Madonna.
She was so Vogue.
Number 2, Vogue Holiday.
celebrate.
All right.
Carrie Elizabeth, number 2.
Okay, we're on to me. You know, my number 2 would be the Smiths.
The Smiths,
The
ladies and
Smiths.
gentlemen.
Got a little angsty in my youth, and
Ute.
started to get into some of the slow, sad music.
Melancholy.
Melancholy.
Christmas.
And it's about as stereotypical, like angsty youth, 80's. I don't want to say goth. It wasn't really goth, but you guys know what I'm getting at. But the Smiths, 1984's The Smiths was fantastic. A couple of my favorite songs are on there: Hand in Glove, Pretty Girls Make Graves. But I think my favorite Smiths album from the 80's, anyways, is The Queen is Dead.
Yes.
1986.
Huge.
Big Mouth Strikes Again. Some Girls Are Bigger Than Others.
Now, so this was a band that you got into in the 90s?
No, the Smiths I actually heard in the late 80's.
Okay.
And could appreciate them, but then didn't really get into them until the 90's, but they were one of my 80's bands. Big Mouth Strikes Again.
How's that go?
I knew it was coming, and I like prepared myself. Let's see. Sweetness, sweetness, I was only joking when I said by rights you should be bludgeoned in your bed. Oh, 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 sweetness. Okay, I think you guys got it, yeah.
Totally.
Girlfriend in a coma.
Step inside
Girlfriend
my
in a
pain
coma,
cave,
I
Pretty,
know,
pretty
I
pain
know.
cave.
and I'll bludgeon you.
Yeah. Heaven knows I'm miserable now. Oh gosh, there's just so many good ones. I'm sorry, I don't even know what these guys are saying anymore. I'm like lost in my head in like Smith songs.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Smith.
Solid number 2 for you,
Number
Carrie
2.
Elizabeth. Christopher.
Actually, that's 4 that I just put up.
Okay. So, my number 2 is... Number 2 is actually, like, piggybacking on my number 1, because number 2 is truly... Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson is my number 2. Michael Jackson should be number 1, but it's so close. Michael Jackson is everything to me. Was when I was little, is to this day. This guy truly was a genius. This guy, I don't care what you think of him as a person.
Don't care. Bring that on in here.
The man was a genius, and my family listened to Michael Jackson. I listened to Michael Jackson when Thriller came out. It was like the biggest friggin' deal in the world.
Yep.
It was the first cassette I ever got. It was actually one of the first themed parties that I had at my house. Was a Michael Jackson themed Thriller party.
That's awesome.
The music video of Thriller was a huge deal for everybody back
The
then.
country. The world.
Certainly in our household, the music just... Michael Jackson makes me dance. Like, anytime his music is on, which around my house is a lot, we are dancing. Mm-hmm. This guy, like, transcends everything. Mm-hmm. He truly was the king of pop, for real. Mm-hmm. Too many songs to mention that I love.
All of them.
But for me, his first 2 albums are just mwah, 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 mwah. Off the Wall and Thriller are. I can't even. I mean, it's just some of the best music in the world.
Thriller is a start to finish, first song to last song, straight hits.
So, and my favorite song from Michael Jackson is PYT. I can't do Michael Jackson, but you've certainly seen me like.
That's amazing.
Pretty young thing, repeat after me. I say na 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 na. I'll take you there.
Oh, so good.
But yes, Michael Jackson. I mean, the guy. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't even. And like, you know, it's actually one of the first bits of music that we ever played for River, my son, when he was actually in
Your belly. In your belly.
In his mother's belly. We would put Michael Jackson on headphones so that he could hear it. And we think that that's why he has impeccable rhythm. I mean, if you've seen my kid dance, and maybe I'll put up a video, but people say that this guy, like, this kid is like a natural, and it's true. Like, he just, man, he can rock. And it's so fun to watch. And in particular, Michael Jackson, when that comes on, he's just, you know? It's great. I mean, I love the guy. It's from then to this day, it's too magical.
Well, it's time for the number ones.
Number one.
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson? Who's that? I was just talking about Jack Michelson. Who's Michael Jackson?
You were talking about Jermaine Jackson.
Yes.
You're talking about Corey Feldman.
Yes, Corey Feldman.
Yes, you were talking about Corey Feldman. Even today. I mean...
Saint Jonah.
Right, what do you...
Michael Jackson
Michael.
is the decade. I mean... you know, if you could pluck 5 things from the decade and put them on a shelf and say this is the decade, Michael Jackson's one of them. He again, always a part of our family. All of the videos were events. Thriller was just, Thriller took over the world. I mean, there was a countdown for Thriller. And then you get to watch the making of Thriller. And so Thriller, when it first came out, almost aired as if it were a small film.
It was a short film. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
It was on every channel. It was huge.
And it was so good. But all of his videos just felt special. Beat It is incredibly special. Billie Jean video is special. And then later, even Bad, and
I like the Bad album.
Yeah,
it just
it was not. It wasn't close to the
good
same. But you get later into Black or White and The Way You Make Me Feel.
Well, he loved it. I mean, he loved that like short format storytelling.
Yeah, every video of his was a story, and just his untouchableness. He was like the equivalent of a Hulk Hogan for me. Like he was just this icon. He was not a human. He was, and again, and that has nothing to do with some of the weird things that he would do. The house and the animals and the chambers and all that. I couldn't care less about that stuff. his presence was not human. He was just in a league of his own.
And everyone to this day is still trying to be Michael Jackson.
Right. And
not just Corey Feldman.
No.
But artists of today are trying to ape his style.
Even me.
They just can't.
Even me.
Well, yeah, come on.
Every day.
Just I gotta play with it.
Yeah, play with the doll. But when he I have watched sadly I have watched so many informational videos on how he died and why he died.
Oh my god, like I bawled.
Well, I'll get to that in a minute, but I have watched, documentaries and autopsy, not, like doctors talking about how he died. And I am still not okay with Michael Jackson dying.
No.
This was not supposed to happen. It was nothing that, he just had, he was a special guy, and so he bought, he got things that regular humans didn't get. And he accidentally died. But when that happened, that weird roller coaster heart feeling that you get, when I can still go back, and I'll do this to myself, I'll still go back and watch the news.
Oh, I've done it.
Of the death. Like the announcements. Michael Jackson's been rushed to the hospital. Yeah, Michael Jackson's in Cedars-Sinai. Early reports are coming in that Michael Jackson is dead. And that's still, it just happened now. It still makes me crawl out of my skin.
I remember where I was.
Me too.
And I remember what I did afterwards. I was in a Barnes & Noble. And Casey called me. And I didn't believe him. I was like, I was just like, what? And he's like, Chris, I am not joking. Like, Michael Jackson is dead.
Yeah.
And I didn't even talk to him. I hung up. I put whatever I had down. I walked out into my car, and I just started bawling.
Yeah.
Because he meant so much to me. Like,
Michael Jackson dying, I said it when it was happening. I said, this is death of childhood. Like, this is... I know I'm an adult now because Michael Jackson's dead. I just didn't feel good about that at all. And like I said, today it still doesn't sit well with me that he's not here. I love the This Is It.
Oh my God, I've seen that so many times. But in the theater though, we were just bawling so much.
So good. This Is It is so good, and he was just so unique and such a force. Again, subhuman level. I just,
we kept the death from River for the longest time. Because we didn't want him busted up. And his stupid grandmother.
Way to go, Grandma.
One day was just like, well, something about, Michael's death and blah, blah, blah. And River was like, Michael Jackson's dead? And River went into his room. And we knew exactly what he was doing. And sure enough, he was like in his pillow and he had tears. And
oh my God, that's horrible.
It sucked so much. Yeah. And it's making me like get
one of my
weepy about it, just thinking about him being affected by it. But
one of my next ink jobs is going to be
me. I know.
Going to be you.
I know.
But after
you should
that
really
one,
put Michael Jackson.
After that one is going to be a all black silhouette of Michael Jackson. Yeah, whatever. Exactly. The tip
could have been Corey. You could tell people it's Corey Feldman.
So it's either going to be that tipped hat one, or it's just going to be, if I can find another like iconic Michael Jackson pose. But anyway,
cool
that's
your number one.
That's sad. That's my number one.
Yeah, but his music brings madness.
And aside from all of his worldly known hits, I actually really like the one he did with.
McCartney?
Well, Paul McCartney.
He did too.
The Girl Is Mine.
I enjoy. Yeah, that's good.
I really like that song. The girl is mine. Mine.
I just can't stop playing with this.
No, she's mine.
I had this as a child.
Yeah, I had that too.
Yeah. There's like 4 more of those.
Yeah, there is.
There's a few more.
I wasn't lucky enough to have the Thriller one, but I did have this one.
There's a few more I got to get.
I had the Thriller one. And then the one with he's got that picture. He's got like gold pants and a blue
That's
shirt.
the Grammy outfit one. That's
Yeah.
awesome. The
That's
blue
the
shirt.
But that's why I
Liberace
keep, guys, I know you see me just over here. I keep touching him. And I keep playing with him, and I keep, like, petting him.
Touch me, Carrie.
I haven't seen one of these in 30 years, so.
Touch me, don't me.
Touch me, Carrie.
Touch me, Carrie. Oh! Alright,
So, Carrie, go ahead and talk about your number one, Michael
Number
Jackson.
one.
my number one is Depeche Mode. What? Depeche Mode. I love
I think you
Depeche Mode.
spelled Michael Jackson wrong.
Sorry. He was in my honorable mentions. I know.
Honorable mentions.
I have Thriller. If I could pick, like,
So Depeche Mode might be your number one, but Michael is still your own personal Jesus, right?
my own personal. No, so like Depeche Mode, and here we have another Kids Incorporated connection. I first heard Depeche Mode on Kids Incorporated, I believe the first season, and it was the people are people, so why should it be? You and I should get along so awfully.
A little more upbeat Depeche Mode.
Yeah. And then there was they went through Dave and Martin. Dave in particular, lead singer, went through some stuff, and his music got kind of dark.
Trials and tribulations.
Yeah, but 1987's Music for the Masses, is probably one of my number one most listened to albums ever to this day. I love it from start to finish. Depeche Mode.
I like Depeche Mode.
Depeche Mode, they're pretty good too. They're pretty good too.
I like Deepish Mode.
Yeah, Deepish Mode. Deepish Mode.
I like the swanky modes.
Strange Love.
I like
Behind the
Ala Mode.
Wheel. Gosh, and again, here I go, just like with the Smiths. I'm like, woo, just thinking about the songs and. What about me? I love Depeche Mode.
So was that like you heard him in the late 80s?
I heard him in the early 80s.
And you were like, ooh.
I heard him first. It would have been 84 or 85. The People Are People episode. Yeah. And then anytime I heard them on the radio, it just gave me certain feels. Gave me feels.
Inner tiffs.
In my tiffs.
And it's still to this day.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
would imagine these are part of your mixes, if you will.
They are, and even though, like,
Playlists.
So People Are People, that's not one of my favorite songs, but it's one of my favorites because of the memory that I have of it from being a kid in Kids Incorporated. But, yeah. Oh, gosh. I'm just looking at, like, some of the songs here. Black Celebration.
These guys know Depeche Mode.
Carrie's number
Of course
one.
You guys know Depeche
They're in
Mode.
the mood for
Everybody.
Depeche Mode.
The world, and I'm not exaggerating, the world knows
Yeah, everybody gets
Depeche
Depeched
Mode.
now and again.
Yep.
Deepest.
And they're still kicking, man. They just came out with a new album this year, so.
Is it good?
There's a couple songs that yeah. They've for me, they've like withstood the test of time. You know?
Indeed.
It's no 80s Depeche Mode, but they're good.
Number one for Carrie Elizabeth, Depeche Mode, and the moment you've been all waiting for, Christopher Seaver.
I wonder what it could be.
I don't know. So do we got another 2 hours to talk about this band? 'Cause, folks,
Get in there. We'll just sit.
let me tell you
kick
guys
back
about
here.
this
Yeah,
band.
we'll-
This is again, Michael Jackson is Michael Jackson. He's almost like on a different plane, folks. It's kind of like Star Wars with me. Star Wars is just something separate from your other pop culture stuff.
sense.
Because Star Wars is just,
Good point.
and that's what Michael Jackson is. But my favorite band of all time, of any of the music I listen to, 80s, 90s, modern,
Gangster rap.
anything, this band is my favorite. I wonder what, I gotta look it up. What is my favorite band? My favorite band is Oingo Boingo. Okay. So, I had very weird family members. Mostly the Seaver side. My mom and her brothers, my uncles, the Seavers, were very goofy, absurd individuals, and they listened to and they watched and they were into a lot of odd stuff that I guess a normie would consider uncouth. So they were getting me into the weird absurdist humor. You know, they loved Monty Python back then. They loved the Zucker Brothers stuff, and music-wise, it was I mean, the reason I like the Police, the Cars, the Talking Heads, what have you, is because of, you know, Devo, because of my mom and my uncles. This band, my Uncle John and my Aunt Suzanne, they were married, you know, and my cousin Jess, I miss you, Jess. They were even more wackadoo than some of the other Seavers. And my Uncle John was in a ska band in the 80s. And one of their biggest influences was Oingo Boingo. So if I was going over to Uncle John and Aunt Suzanne's house growing up, I knew I was going to be hearing Oingo Boingo. Now, Oingo Boingo was a 70s band. It started in the late 70s, and it was known as the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo. They were more of a theatrical theater presentation. It was like, and it was actually started by Danny Elfman's brother, Richard Elfman. And it was like this troupe, this like musical theater troupe of like 25, 30, 35 members of these wacky musicians who would go out there and just be crazy. I mean, you can find their stuff, and it's nutso, but it's so cool. And, you know, thinking back, it makes sense that my family was into this stuff. But then Danny took the Oingo Boingo out of Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo, and he started Oingo Boingo and made it into a basically new wave pop ska band. And most of you guys out there are going to know Oingo Boingo from Weird Science. If not Weird Science, then like Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. Or Bachelor Party. Or Summer School. Oingo Boingo became a soundtrack band of the 80s for sure. But they were so much more than that, folks. You also may know Danny Elfman of his scoring career. He's created so many, I mean, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Batman, Edward Scissorhands,
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas. That is Danny Elfman. That is him. But he was the lead singer and wrote all the songs for Oingo Boingo. And man, this band just freaking does it for me. Like, not just because of the connections growing up, but musically, I throw it around a lot. But Danny Elfman was a genius, and the songs were so weird, so different and cool sounding, and there was nothing really like Oingo Boingo. To take those styles, I mean, he was bringing in xylophones and horns and all sorts of weird and just weird stuff musically, mixing the ska and the new wave and all that stuff. I mean, it's just, I don't even...
I gotta listen to them some more.
Oh my goodness, Carrie.
I obviously I have like, you know, Dead Man's Party, like that's...
Yeah, but man, oh man.
Can we come back into the picture?
Yeah, you would know. Yeah, you guys can talk about it. But yes, everyone, you would know about Weird Science, obviously, and Dead Man's Party from Back to School. And, you know, they did a lot of... I mean, they were all over the place. They are a Southern California band. Like, they were more popular than you think in the 80s, folks. And they disbanded in 1995. They have a concert. Their last concert video is out there. It's on DVD. I had it on VHS.
Naturally.
I have every album. I've made several different mixes over the years. It's definitely on my playlist. Always play it. Yeah, there's too many songs to mention. My favorite, there's two favorite songs. One is called Stay, and one is called Violent Love. Now, Violent Love isn't their song. That was written and performed by another artist. But their Violent Love is so good. It is one of the best ska songs for me ever. Anyway, yeah. Wow. And then you horror fans, you might have heard No One Lives Forever in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. It plays during a really cool scene, and I remember when I first saw it, I kind of squealed a little bit because Oingo Boingo was playing in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And that's not why I love that movie so much, but that is one of the reasons. Of
course
it goes in there. But Oingo Boingo, folks,
wonderful. There you have it.
Boingo.
It is. Let me tell you something. Real quick. No. It's this is a band that I have swore up and down that if they ever get back together, as in Danny Elfman coming back, because truth be told, folks, Oingo Boingo is still performing out there. Oh. Just not with Danny Elfman.
Well, then it's...
They're actually really great.
See, I'm one of those weird people that I'm like, oh, if the original person...
No, they're really good, and they have Danny's blessing, but it's the band. They're called Oingo Boingo Dance Party. Huh. And they have a really great singer. Not as good as Danny, but they have a really great singer. So and I would love to see those guys. Man, I would love to see them. But I would drop everything. I would sell, steal, whatever I had to do to get to that reunion if Danny was like, you know what? One more time, let's get out there and let's do this.
You're gone.
Patreon.
I would be there in a heartbeat, and I would probably be weeping and laughing and crying and weeping and peeing and coming myself. It would be amazing. It would be amazing. So.
There you go, folks. The Christopher Seaver Oingo Boingo Hour was brought to you by
Oingo Boingo.
Oingo Boingo. Wow. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The top 5. There they are. In their entirety. But wait, there's more.
Pages.
There's honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions. You want to go with yours first?
I will go with mine first, and then...
Yeah, we can work our way down, because I think it makes sense that way, because he's got way more.
So, honorable mentions, really quick.
Holy shit.
Jay Giles Band, I dug.
Oh, yeah.
Dire Straits, I was a fan of. The Greg Kine Band with...
Greg Kine?
Greg Kine. And
Kine Greg?
And Kine Greg. Our Love's in Jeopardy, I was a fan of. Come On Eileen.
So, Dexy's Midnight Runners?
Yeah, that's right.
Which is actually... Well, do you know what... We can talk later. The band, what the name is...
Dexy's Midnight Runners?
Yeah, they're like...
John Stamos' hairstyle.
Yeah.
There you go.
Dexy's.
There you go.
Yeah.
And She's a Beauty from the Tubes I enjoyed a lot.
And,
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of music.
Yeah, I mean, well, gosh, I wanted to add something before you got into your 39,000 honorable mentions.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't have as many as Chris has. Had I known that he was going to have that many, then I would have done that many, too. But I tried to keep it simple here.
Here we go.
I mean, listen. Okay, so we all have like a bunch of songs that we love. We might not like have listened to like full albums or you know, maybe we did, but everybody has like songs that we still listen to from the 80s from different bands. But I loved the Ramones growing up. I loved the Monkees, which is interesting. The Monkees, like... That was obviously not an 80s band, but because of the reruns of the show in the 80s, I loved the Monkees. I got hooked onto their goofy antics and their music, and I had Monkees albums. My friends in the neighborhood, we did the Monkees on our own little band. So yeah, I love the Monkees, but Madonna... Prince, love Prince, the Bangles, Cyndi Lauper, New Edition, the Jets, Rod Stewart.
Oh,
which is weird, right? But I liked a lot of Rod Stewart.
Rod.
And John Cougar Mellencamp. I liked a lot of Mellencamp stuff. Again, because of my family.
Yeah, that's a family thing.
It's all stuff that they listen to, and so I got into it. Rush. I listened to Rush in the 80s. Run DMC, Devo, Bryan Adams, the Beastie Boys. AC/DC is a timeless band for me. That's a band that, like, they're consistent, man. They sounded the same in the 70s. They sounded the same in the 80s, 90s, modern until they finally
died.
Kaput. But I love that about them. They are consistent. They sound... Yeah, AC/DC. I like Human League. I loved Madness.
Yes.
Madness was also one of the first albums, vinyl, I got. Fishbone, Metallica, Dio, I liked a lot. I liked Megadeth, Pat Benatar, Tina Turner, Journey, Guns N' Roses, Bon Jovi, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
It's just an understatement.
I loved Queen. I listened to a lot of Queen, again, because of my family.
On everybody's list.
The Chicago Power Ballads.
Oh, yeah, I remember them.
But that's a lot of because of school dances and our roller rink that we had, Funland Skate Rink in Wellsville. Man, couples skate, they would rock those Chicago songs.
If you see me walking by.
I don't know who that is.
It's like Bee Gees.
No. I actually I love the Bee Gees.
Is it out there?
I do love the Bee Gees, but Chicago, you know, they had, you know, you're the meaning in my life. You're the inspiration.
I think
all that stuff.
If you see me walking by and the tears are in my eyes, look away. I think that is
That's
Chicago.
not Chicago. That isn't Chicago.
Huh?
I don't think so. Peter Cetera I do have on here. He left Chicago. and he did his own hits, particularly the Karate Kid 2 song.
Of course.
Yeah, Dolly and Kenny I have here. What else do I got over here?
It's the second page, guys.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so that's the stuff that I listen to. And then I figured we'd do... Is it? Wait, who is that?
Chicago.
Oh. Well, that's not Peter Cetera singing.
No, but that's Chicago.
Well, I don't like that Chicago song. So it doesn't exist.
It's your favorite.
So there you go.
Is your honorable mentions?
Yeah, those are my honorable mentions. You know, soundtracks we're going to do for the movie episode, I'm sure. Because soundtracks were also a huge part of my growing up.
Of course they were. Carrie?
I mentioned some of mine earlier. You know, Debbie Gibson, Tiffany, Paula Abdul. You know, I was a girl in the 80s, so New Kids on the Block, obviously. Jane's Addiction, even though I think most people think of them as a 90s band, started in the 80s. Ministry, Violent Femmes, The Cure, Dead Kennedys, Suicidal Tendencies. This band right here, so I don't consider them an 80s band. I consider them a 90s band. However, their first album came out in 1989. And if I actually considered them an 80s band, they would have been... Well, then they would have been my number one, probably. Just in terms of what I still like today. But 9 Inch Nails.
Oh, yeah.
They came out with Pretty Hate Machine in 1989. And I am in love with that album to this day. And I looked over and I noticed that Chris had written Dance USA, Dance Party USA
Yeah,
there.
Dance Party USA.
There is a rare video out there of 9 Inch Nails performing Down in It for the first time in 1989 on Dance Party USA. So that would be my number one honorable mention. And if I considered them an 80s band, my actual number one.
Yeah, so I have that on here because there were shows that were sort of all over the place that showcased music.
Yeah, I have a few.
Because of our, you know, we're going to be talking about MTV, but Headbangers Ball, Dance Party USA, Kids Incorporated, Al TV, things like that.
Al TV.
Yeah, so that's, you know, I certainly saw and got discovered some new music through some of those, you know, weird shows like that.
Sure.
Yo MTV Raps in the late 80s.
That's right.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of music that we just talked about.
So much.
That's all right.
That was a lot of
So
music.
good.
A lot of music. A lot of mercy.
I'm going to have a field day editing.
And we're going to edit a lot of this. All right, so let's do a commercial.
Yeah, we got to go to commercial.
We gotta
we'll go to commercial and then we'll go right into I Totally Remember.
Yeah, so edit this part too.
Yeah. No, I'm keeping it all. This is raw.
Raw footage.
Woo! We got to take a little break, guys. We got to cool off. We got to get something to drink.
Get some of that Ecto Cooler.
Get some Ecto Cooler. Get a little caffeine back in us.
Hawaiian Punch.
Check out these
Capri Sun.
messages. And we'll be back with a segment that we used to call, like I totally remember this, Do You? Coming back at you right after this.
Now to touch my thunder punch. You hear it here, but you feel it there.
Skeletor figure, Castle Grayskull, and Thunder Punch He-Man figure each sold separately. You put the castle together.
With He-Man over there, Grayskull will be mine. Like I said, Boneface, you hear the thunder here, but I feel the punch here.
Thunder Punch He-Man, new from the Masters of the Universe collection. Skeletor and Castle Grayskull, each sold separately. From Mattel.
What's happening in the land of Rainbow Bright?
We represent the color kids, and in the name of Rainbow Bright, we brighten up our rainbow land.
Murky Dismal and Color Kids, each sold separately.
Colors, what good are they?
Green's fun, like me, Patio Green. And doesn't this violet make you smart, like me, Shy Violet?
Ah, boy.
Rainbow colors bring happiness.
Shy Violet, Patio Green, and Murky Dismal, each sold separately. From the world of Rainbow Bright. By Mattel.
If you want to hear music from a box like this, here's a high band blaster that you wear on your wrist. High band blasters. And would you look at this watch? Who would ever know? It can change into a robot radio. Robot radio.
Planoform non-radio watch is also available. Inviceptor Jet, Excalibur Gun, Scorpia, Autochron, Autoceptor, Kaltor, and the Robot Time Machine. Each sold separately.
Welcome back, guys. It is now time for the debut of a segment that we have never done before. And I like to call this, like I totally remember this, do you? So back before 16-year-olds were getting pregnant, back before Snooki, back before even Road Rules and Real World, MTV stood for Music Television. Why did it stand for music television? Because it played music videos. And prior to MTV, the music video concept didn't even exist. So back in 1981, music television began. MTV. Like I totally remember it. Do you?
7, 6, 5, 4. We've gone for main engine start. We have main engine start.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll.
This is it. Welcome to MTV Music Television, the world's first 24-hour stereo video music channel. Now, just moments ago, all of the VJs and the crew here at MTV collectively hit our executive producer, Sue Steinberg, over the head with a bottle of champagne, and behold, a new concept is born. The best of TV combined with the best of radio. Now, starting right now, you'll never look at music the same way again. We'll be right back to introduce the other VJs and the other folks who are going to be with us on MTV.
I'm Alan Hunter. I will be with you right after Mark. We'll be covering the latest in music news coast to coast here on MTV Music Television.
I'm Martha Quinn. The music will continue non-stop on MTV Music Television, the newest component of your stereo system.
Well, all right, I'm J.J. Jackson, and I'll be sitting in with the latest video music performances the way they were meant to be. That's in stereo on MTV Music Television. You'll never look at music the same way again.
Hi, I'm Nina Blackwood, and I'll be with you after J.J. right here on MTV, the world's first video music channel, all day, all night, in stereo.
Are those guys the best? We all are so excited about this new concept in TV. We'll be doing for TV what FM did for radio. And let's get into it right now at MTV.
America, demand your MTV. I want my MTV.
I want my MTV.
I want my MTV.
MTV Music Television. Video music. 24 hours a day. And it's stereo.
call your cable company and say, I want my MTV.
Turn it on, leave it on. America, see the music you want to see.
I want my MTV. All right.
I want my MTV.
I want my MTV. Ow!
24 hours a day on cable TV.
I want my MTV, MTV, MTV! Yeah, too much is never enough.
So MTV would take the concept of DJs and they created VJs. Folks who would introduce the videos that we would all gather around our TVs to watch. And of course, there were extremely popular videos that are still popular today. We talked about Michael Jackson earlier, we talked about Madonna. You could certainly see their entire catalog basically in video format. And revolutionary at the time. I think it was probably one of the biggest concepts that came out of cable. One of the biggest things that came out of cable. I connect it with things like HBO. You've got music television, you've got videos, you've got HBO, you've got your movie premieres coming out. So MTV was huge. I know that we would gather around the set. I know that we would tape entire days of MTV just to catch that one video we were looking for. Because like we have said, this stuff wasn't accessible to us. We could not just... This was not at our fingertips. We couldn't go on YouTube and pull up our favorite video and watch it until we weren't interested in it anymore. We had to wait for it, and we might miss it, and we might only catch it once a day, but it was definitely a huge part of my television watching of my childhood. And to tie in the wrestling, of course, I have to. One of the biggest moments of WWF wrestling, when it went from, again, this small regional thing to this worldwide thing, was when it connected with MTV in 1985. And you guys have heard of this thing called the Rock and Wrestling Connection. And MTV got behind it. A lot of other networks and a lot of other people were brushing it off. And MTV got behind it, and it was probably one of their best moves as well. Connecting with the WWF. And so, that was huge for me to, again, gather around the TV and watch this live wrestling event on MTV. Who can forget the astronaut? Who can forget some of those opening montages that you just saw? MTV, guys. Like, I totally remember it. Do you?
Here comes the GoBot Command Center.
Your parents put it together.
Oh.
You can change it to a land walker and a mighty fortress. 9-volt battery not included. GoBot sold separately.
Enemy GoBot attacking. Now it attacks for master controls. Leader 1! Try and conquer the world now. You are grounded, Coptor.
The GoBot Command Center. Leader 1 and Coptor each sold separately. From Tonka.
Here is the Hart family.
Fun is being part of the family that's all heart.
Perfect family. 2 babies.
Mom is pretty.
Dad is handsome.
And the babies are so cute. Playing with them is such a hoot.
Ooh, that hair, it needs some care. And your diaper is not there.
What a darling pair. Ooh, fun is being part of the family that's our heart.
The Hart Family Deluxe set comes with everything you see here. From Mattel.
Hey, you two, the kitty hill's over there.
Oh, no, Tony.
We'll do fine after this complete breakfast, including my vitamin pack Frosted Flakes. They bring out the tiger in you.
To ski this hill, you gotta be good.
Frosted Flakes good? They're great.
Show us you're a tiger. Show us what you can do.
Go, tiger.
The taste of Tony's Frosted Flakes. Man, they're fast. Bring out the tiger in you.
And you.
All right, guys, we are back. We are here to wrap things up a little bit, but before we do that, we like to end these things by talking to some of you guys out there, by talking about some things that are coming up. And if we got some stuff to show you, now's about the time we like to do that. We're going to let our guest go first, because when I saw her pull up to the crib today, she had a whole box of goodies. So what did you bring us?
Well, I have a collection at home, but the only thing that I have that's a complete collection from the 80s is my entire original series Garbage Pail Kid collection.
Salty. GPKs.
Yeah, and I would love to say that over the years, like, these are all mine, and then I collected them. I did collect them, but a lot of them disappeared over the years or were...
As they do.
Thrown away by my parents.
I still
But so this was a pickup of mine a couple of years ago. I was in a position where I had some extra money, and this was one of my holy grails. I know you guys talk about that, but I'm like, I want every single Garbage Pail Kid card there ever was. The original series. I don't really care so much for the ones that came back out in the
agreed.
2000s.
The new line is pretty cool.
Is it?
They're 80's. It's the whole series is We Hate the 80's.
Oh, yeah. That one's interesting.
And they
to
look
me.
pretty sweet, actually.
Those I'll check out. But in terms of like collection, I'm like, I gotta get the original series. So I actually brought every Garbage Pail Kid card.
It's beautiful.
There's like 5 binders worth, but you know, so this was my pickup. Couple years back.
We'll do a close up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll yeah. Here. Again, I'm not gonna take out all 5 binders.
They're over there.
They're over there in a box. But you guys get the gist.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So.
Talk about memories.
Oh man.
Man, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
And again, it was so. Again, gross out humor of our generation as we're kind of coming of age a little bit. We're getting a little, little silly 12-year-old sense of humor. My people didn't like those. They were like, almost like
your people.
My parents.
Your parents.
They sort of almost felt those were bannable in my house.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of the people we grew up with, as far as like parentage is concerned, enjoyed that stuff. Like certainly my grandparents didn't, but my mom and my uncles, they all loved it, and they didn't not let me get them. I think it was more of a they're not gonna buy them for me, but I can use my chore, because I would do chores. So I'd get like a weekly allowance. I certainly used my money to buy Garbage Pail Kids. And I probably had all of these. Garbage Pail Kids were a huge thing for me, for sure.
Are you a fan of Funko Pops, Carrie?
So I have some. I have not gotten into collecting them. I have seen the Garbage Pail Kid.
They're coming out.
Yeah. I don't dislike them. It's just not anything I'm into collecting at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, these just take
Garbage
me back.
Pail Kid Pops are headed our way. I know Christopher is dying to get his hands on those Funkos.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, those are really memorable.
Well,
Those are great to see.
Yeah, and it's cool because I've got like the series. So for all the original, there was 15 series originals. I had A and B versions. Some are more rare than others, but yeah, just looking through these, it's like, my gosh, I remember being so excited, like trading.
Oh yeah.
You know, you would have like 10 of one card, as is with any like card collection.
Yeah,
but you'd get that one that was rare, and so to see all these is just. I love looking through this. It makes me happy.
Off the top of your head, are there valuable ones in there?
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, nothing that's worth like $1,000 per card or anything, but there's some that are valuable because there was even how they were cut. Because you know how some of them have like, well, they all have the stickers.
Yep.
But certain ones were like cut incorrectly, where like maybe the outline will go through the drawing, and those are worth money. So yeah, I've got a couple that are of value here.
Did you like the movie?
When I was a kid,
Yeah.
I liked it, but it didn't stick with me.
When's the last time you've seen it?
Over 10 years ago.
Well, it's going to be on one of our Saturday night sleepovers for sure.
That's awesome.
Because Clint and I still like the movie.
That's great. Yeah.
But it's so bad
yeah.
that we think it's rad.
I saw it in the theater when it came out. I vividly remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
1987's Garbage Pail Kids.
Thank you for bringing those
thank you
to the cave.
Thank you guys for being interested. These sit in my house, and a lot of people aren't interested in them.
Oh my gosh.
Who are these people?
That is like a time warp. That is a time machine.
Who are these people?
See, some people just don't get it, but you guys get it. So, thank you.
I got not a lot to show you. In fact, I got nothing to show you. I did get these which I've been waiting for these for like a week now, and I'm really excited.
A whole week?
A whole week. No, I bought them a week, but I've been waiting for them to come so that I could set up some stuff. But these are just, well, they're clear, so you can't see anything. But these are action figure peg holders, and the growing Ghostbusters collection. I bought these just for those because they don't stand well, and the weapons sort of weigh them down. So these there's 20 in here. I got 20 off eBay for like, $5 and free shipping or whatever. So a little baggie of plastic action figure stands to enhance the collection, if you will. Christopher, what'd you get?
Well, as you know, I'm always broke, so I can never get anything myself. And even if I did have money, I probably wouldn't. So I guess I rely on the kindness of strangers. This was sent to me by one of our fans, Chad Stotler.
What's up, Stotler, man?
I was very humbled, of course. And he went ahead and told me what it was. And it's funny, like right when I was saying, that's awesome, thank you so much, please don't tell me, he wrote back what it was.
We don't know what it is, though.
Yeah, no idea.
And this is fun because it's this is the second time somebody has watched our video, saw some of the things that I needed for my collection, and was like, okay, I'm just going to send it. And this is one of those.
Wow.
This is to add to my still in package.
Is it a mask item?
I wish. No, but this is just as good, folks.
Oh, wow.
This is to add to
man.
my Real Ghostbusters Packaged Monsters series.
Whoa. Stotler, man.
This is the zombie.
That is fantastic.
Yep. And once again, KB.
Yeah. And $2.99, which is just ridiculous to wrap your head around.
That's awesome.
So thank you, Chad. Thank you so much. Now I only need Quasimodo and the Wolfman to get that series of the monsters from Real Ghostbusters.
How did you start that collection?
Because of him. Again, I'm only getting stuff that I used to have. I had these. I don't think I'll get nearly as much of these Ghostbusters things that I used to have, but some of them I certainly will. I wish I didn't, looking back, I wish I didn't give my son so many of my old toys when he was a toddler.
They gone.
Because he just destroyed so many of them. And I know I had Ghostbusters in there. In particular, I remember when he destroyed the Ecto-1 that I had. I was just like, ooh, why did I do that?
He shook his groove thing.
Yes, thank you so much, Chad. Very awesome of you.
Chad
this is going right up there.
A connoisseur as well.
Oh, yes, he is. Yes, he is. And much love.
Thank you, Stotler, man.
Yes, thank you.
So what do we got coming up? What do we?
I don't know,
first
like
of all,
a lot of depression.
Yeah, a lot of depression.
It's February in Rochester.
Some psychotic thoughts. At this point in the day, in this point in the evening, we currently have 800 subscribers.
That's right. We finally
we cracked that. We cracked out of the 700s finally. So thanks to all of you guys for getting us closer to that 1,000 subscribers, which once again allows us to be human beings in the YouTube world. Maybe. Yeah. That might not even, who knows. So we're at 800 subscribers. We want to keep it going. As of an hour ago, we had 801, but that one disappeared. Don't know what happened to that person.
Well,
but we found out that YouTube is up to their shenanigans again.
Yeah. Yeah.
T-Public, what do we got? What do we got going on with T-Public?
There's going to be some new shirts added soon. Some shirts that I think some of you folks will be quite pleased with. that have to do with a couple of old timers, you know, old time wrestling promo individuals.
I thought we were done with them. Those guys are, man, special.
We can never be done with those guys, and the world has never been done with those two.
No.
Many of you guys are getting kind of like, they don't understand who these guys were. Folks, they never wrestled.
Never.
They never got to that point. No. All through the 80s, all they did was promos.
That's it. Never got in the ring.
And when they were about to get into the ring...
What happened?
Well, terrible accident with an Amish cookie cart. It ended the career.
So all we ever got to see was the buildup of these two cats. And I have found out the name of the Unspoken.
The Unspoken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know its name now.
Oh, we all know his name.
It's Manhammer.
That's right.
Manhammer.
Manhammer.
Manhammer the Unspoken.
And I have no idea what that means or what this cat is all about. But you guys saw him on our last episode. You saw Manhammer and you saw the Trashfield Cat. Meow.
I'm going to buy these shirts.
I'm guessing you're probably going to see more of those dudes in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Not sure.
They'll show up.
We've got tons of vintage tapes on them, so we will play one for you every now and then. Luckily for us, even back in the 80s, they were like cutting intros for our show.
Oh, yeah.
Which is
because they knew they were ahead of their time.
Which is just weird, but we're gonna utilize it. We're gonna capitalize it. So go check out TeePublic. There's our classic designs, which I am finally. There you go. I am finally proudly wearing this shirt. You can get this shirt at TeePublic right now for $14. It's on sale, and they do put up sales like every other week. Is a $14
pretty
sale.
much.
So go check out TeePublic. Patreon. Tell them about the Patreon deal.
Well, we got the Patreon, folks. It's still up there.
There's the deal.
That definitely will help us. You get some fun perks if you help us out financially, monthly. There's perk tiers that you get. And please check it out. It's patreon.com/new80srev. That's out there.
That's us. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
That's right.
We're all over the place.
The New 80s Revolution, or 1980s Revolution on Twitter. Everything else is the New 80s Revolution. So we're out there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know when the new shirts are going to go on TeePublic, but I think we're going to have, up to about 3 or 4 new shirts. Also, on the Low Budget Pictures TeePublic, we're going to have some new shirts as well, including Saturday Morning Sleepover shirts and some stuff that pertains to my films that are already out there.
Get on it, boys and girls.
I'm excited.
Yeah, but that's
us. So coming up next episode, Chris and I, it's just going to be 2 dudes on a couch this time. We're going back to toys. And we are going to focus exclusively on what we like to call the grails, the holy grails, the toys that we want, do not have, might be slightly out of our reach, but hope to someday have. So that entire episode is going to be dedicated once again to toys, and more specifically, the holy grails of our obsession.
Yeah.
And that's all next time on the New 80s Revolution. So that's that, guys. You sat through the music episode. You learned that Chris liked Oingo Boingo.
What?
Nobody knew that.
Who knew?
And
Nobody knew that. Nobody knew that. And Jermaine Jackson. Nobody knew that.
Feldman.
And Corey Feldman. And that was all in the New 80s Revolution. And now we're going to go. So everybody, thanks for coming out and joining us. We'd like to thank Carrie Elizabeth for sitting on the couch with us. She was a blast. She's so pretty. She's just sitting right over there.
You're going to see her again.
You're going to see her again. But thanks for coming out and tuning in and hanging out with us, guys. We're going to see you next time right here on the New 80s Revolution.
He really wants to go.
Bye.